Hey, welcome back to another video. We're going to be doing some more paranormal ghost story type things because it's fun. The first one comes to us from the infamous G-Money. And they say, I just had one story today. I was alone in a basement for work this morning and heard a door slam. I assumed it was somebody else. So it was a big basement with a lot of rooms. Then I heard the elevator open, so I peeked out of the room I was in and saw nobody. It was weird, but I just shrugged it off. Then I moved on to the next room and heard some noises coming out of the last room I was in. I went in and saw a stack of boxes fall. I shrugged it off again, and then I was done. I walked back to the elevator and got in. I then heard a man clear their throat and followed in his footsteps to the basement, so I assumed it was one of my coworkers and stopped the elevator, but nobody was nearby. I assumed it was Joe or one of the managers and got back in the elevator. I got back upstairs, and Susan, the other manager, jokingly asked me if I survived down there. It's an obviously eerie basement. I laughed and then asked if she wanted me to help Joe. She said that he had called in sick. She saw my confusion and replied, "You met David, didn't you?" I had no idea what she was talking about, and she explained that I was the only male employee there today and that the basement was haunted by a ghost named David. Really weird experience. Yeah, I would say so too. The next story comes from us from Nico D'Angelo. I suppose that's somebody who is very fond of the Rick Riordan series. A few months ago, when I was home alone, I heard someone call out my name, like really clearly, but no one was home other than me. The only other explanation I had was that when my dog was barking and it sounded like my name, but she was in my bed and the voice came from downstairs. It also happened a few days ago. I was home alone. It was just me and my lizards who lived in my room. I was lying in bed and heard something like, "Come down here for a second," but in Swedish. I don't know where this story originates from, and I genuinely don't know if it's my brain making it up, which would be weird because it seemed like my dog also heard it the first time, or if it's just the house creaking, it's over 100 years old, or if it is actually like a mimic or something, because both times it sounded like my mom, but she was at work and wasn't coming home until around midnight. If anyone knows anything, please enlighten me. I think you know more than we do at this point because it happened to you, but interesting when things when your names get called. That's happened to me and a lot of other people as well. So the next story comes to us from Sinister Chill 9. And I'm going to butcher these names, and I do apologize. Well, I am from Uttarakhand. Have seen my fair share of things that I can't explain here. Random lights appearing in one mountain and then just moving around at inhuman speed. That particular mountain has no roads except for a kacha rasta. Literally saw a man swallow burning coal, like you might say he had another coal, but no, dude. It was sleight of hand because he had no clothes, just a loincloth, just like a coal out of a high-end, and popped it like it was candy. I don't know much about the human body, but it would not be able to do that. Weird noises at night, horrific screeches. I once saw a boys' hostel for a week. Was once at a boys' hostel for a week. It was our sister school. Saw a girl wandering around my hostel, but just all me and my friends saw. Asked the warden what the fuck is a girl doing around the boys' hostel, but there were no girls at this school. My aunt had a case of possession. I tried to attribute that to hysteria or schizophrenia, but like anyone else in the house village, saw something on her back holding her. There was a hairpin bin near my village. Every month, a truck used to have an accident here. The local folklore was that a witch somehow made them see a different route that didn't exist. People of village and forest department constructed a small temple deep down in the forest, so you can't even say that maybe the driver saw the temple reflecting and came to their senses when feeling drowsy, as the temple was not visible through the road and the accidents stopped. You can be a skeptic, even I am, but there is something mystical about mountains. That was a mouthful. That was really kind of crazy how that was worded, but luckily we got through it. Interesting little stories for sure. The next one is the last, comes to us from the last 747. 747. I don't know if they're talking about the plane or if, yeah, anyway. So We begin with, I want to preface this by saying that I have never been a huge believer in the paranormal and never put much stock into dreams. However, after reading through countless stories of unexplainable and downright strange events on this sub, I figured I would share my own story. At the time, I lived in a small mobile home with my parents and younger sister. I shared a room with my sister and even shared a bunk bed with her at one point. This specific recurrence of the dream takes place in the early to late 2029. Sorry, let's rephrase that. 2009. It always happened the same. I would wake up, or so I thought, in my bed and climb down the ladder to get a drink of water, except the door to the bedroom would always be locked from the outside. This was strange because the doors to the bedroom would not lock at all, let alone from the outside. It was always pitch black in these dreams. Think like you can't see your own hand 5 inches in front of your face, kind of dark. This was also strange as my sister was terrified of the dark and had a nightlight near her bed that lit up most of the floor surrounding it and enough light to see the door dimly. Anyway, sidetracking aside, the point is the room is dark. I think we got that. After trying the door, I would hear behind me every single time, "It's locked. You're not getting out that way," followed by a string of numbers that too many years passed for me to remember. Aside from the strange nature of having them recur over a period of roughly 5 months, an additional strange aspect was that I would consistently wake up at the opposite end of my bed in a shirt inside out. Now, I will be the first to say that I am not a chill sleeper. I roll constantly and still wake up in different positions to this day, but I have never again woken up with my shirt inside out. I never figured out why I was having these dreams, nightmares really. I don't remember much from that time period, but for some reason this has always stuck with me. The only thing I will say that sticks out to me regarding this incident is that I still feel weird being alone in that house. We moved over a decade ago, and I have long since outgrown my fear of the dark, but I cannot stand being alone in that house at night. I do have stories about that from recently, but those are for another time. That is bizarre. That one is really, yeah, there's not going to be much explanation for why your shirt would be inside out, unless you're sleepwalking, I suppose. You're sleep dressing. I suppose that's a thing. I don't know. Next story is Crypt Overlords. I, a 34 male, not me, but this person writing the story, always thought ghosts and the paranormal were BS. This took place in 2011 when I was married to my ex-wife. She always told me that she had seen ghosts when she was younger. She had very detailed stories. As much as I can't stand her now, she believed her stories, and I believe that she did see figures and apparitions. She believed some people were closer to the other side, and those people had paranormal things happen around them. We were in our bedroom one spring night, and I told her I wanted to leave. I wanted to believe, but I needed to see something to be able to truly believe it. Instantly, in the hallway, the nightlight flickered as if something had gone past the sensor. The temperature in our bedroom dropped 6 degrees in over 2 minutes. A very steady drop in temperature. I am a weather enthusiast and have always kept an indoor-outdoor thermometer in my bedroom because I'm a dork. When I felt the cold, I looked over and watched as the temperature dropped from 72 down to 66 degrees in 2 minutes. The air conditioner was not on. It was spring, not hot or cold, outside. There was zero explanation for either of these two things. Throughout my entire time at home, I never saw the nightlight flicker on its own or experience a temperature drop that fast in 2 minutes, even with the AC on. However, when in the shower, sometimes I felt like I was being watched. Ex-wife wanted to talk to the entity and contact it. I told her, hell no. I don't want to have that shit to have anything to do with that shit. The house is creepy as fuck. My marriage fell apart and moved out about a year ago in that freak show of a house. Well, okay. Some trauma there in more ways than one. Next story is from Hannah Rose Banana. My fiance and I are both nurses. When I was still a PCT, and I don't know what these stand for, I apologize, and he was a nurse, he told me about how on his ONC med surgery floor, they had a patient a long time ago who was a younger girl in her 20s with cancer. She was a frequent flyer to the unit, but not in a bad way. All the nurses loved her, and she became part of the unit family. She ended up dying in the hospital, but after she passed, and even to this day, she pops up from time to time. One day, a patient was admitted to the same room where she passed away. He went to sleep that night, and the following day he asked the day shift nurse who the young girl was who had come into his room last night. He woke up in the middle of the night and saw her standing in the room. He asked if she needed anything, and all she did was laugh a little, wave at him, and then slip out of the room. His day shift nurse asked him what she looked like, and he described that patient to a T. That happens a lot in hospitals, honestly. For most people that I know of, they've talked about things like that. Interesting. I guess, your last place, you're just either you're stuck there or something. Kind of sad in a way, but so the first one comes to us from Ariana, or yeah, Marie 92. My family and I were camping at Disneyland's Fort Wilderness, and one of the nights my sister and I encountered what we called the Whistling Man. We had gone to the comfort station where there were showers and laundry and whatnot to do some laundry. It was pretty late at night, but there were not a lot of people around. But we did see a maintenance person at one point. As we were walking back to the golf court, we heard whistling a bit away. It instantly put me on edge. Nothing about it exactly sounded creepy. It was just every fiber of my being said danger alert. I kind of casually mentioned to my sister that the whistling sounded a little creepy, and she said she noticed it too. And immediately the whistling drastically got louder and louder, like it was running up behind us. We both took off running, and my sister sped so fast, backing out of the golf cart, we almost tripped over. We didn't see anything, but the whistling was keeping us in the golf cart until we got back to camp. Our husbands didn't really believe us, but I feel like there was something trying to hurt us. I don't know what, but it was very malevolent. Story is from Nascent 26. My girl and I were on a road trip one weekend, heading to a secluded campsite in the Catskills. We had been driving for 3 hours. There was still a long way to go, and we were getting tired and hungry. We decided to look for a place to eat and rest for a while. We saw a sign that said, "Welcome to Harmony, population 212." Or sorry, 512. Now, I've been living in New York for many years, and we have been going on weekend getaways like this. We like to discover new towns and on adventures together. We thought it was a town we hadn't visited before and took the opportunity. So I turned the car around and went down this narrow paved road. We got into town. We noticed the buildings looked very old-fashioned and quaint. There were wooden houses, a church, a school, a general store, and a diner, but there were no people loitering like in most small towns. We parked our car near the diner and got out. We felt a strange sensation as if there were eyes looking at us, but they didn't feel unfriendly, or they didn't feel friendly. The air had a metallic odor, and there was a faint smell of old, rotting wood and something else that made me shiver. My girlfriend looked at me, and I thought she'd laugh at me like she usually does, but her eyes were filled with fear instead of amusement. When we went inside, the diner looked empty. Nobody was behind the counter. I called out, and someone must have heard me in the kitchen. Minutes later, a large guy wearing a stained apron came out. He was smiling. I thought he seemed happy and friendly, but there was something odd about him. We gave him our orders and told him that we wanted them to go. I apologized, but said that we were in a hurry. He didn't say anything, just nodded. I didn't want to stay there for very long because it made me feel so uneasy. My girl must have had the same idea. Pretty soon, the large man, who we thought was the cook, came out and gave us our food. We paid and told him to keep the change, and then we hightailed it out of there. As I was driving away, I looked at the rearview mirror, fearing I'd see something strange, but no one was there. The road made empty. When we reached the highway that we were on before, we both heaved an audible sigh of relief. My girlfriend laughed and said that we should look up the town on Google Maps, but we never found any mention of Harmony in areas near the Catskill Mountains. She suggested that we go again after our camping trip, but I totally refused. She could tell that our experience had shaken me up. I was convinced we had somehow found ourselves in a ghost town, and the guy we spoke to was a ghost. It's a pretty good theory. Yeah, that's kind of bizarre. Little bizarre. Ghost towns of, yeah. Okay, so the last one we have here is Tink the Chai. I don't know. After he died, I found out a series of unpleasant things. Oh, okay. To rephrase this. This was a story about her husband. There we go. After he died, I found out a series of unpleasant things about him. It was devastating and took more than 3 years to come to grips with it. He died on August of 2020. I sold our condo in June of 2021. He had renovated the entire condo. Kitchen, both bathrooms, flooring, trim, doors, everything. It took nearly 3 years. I have 2 small dogs, and when the realtor told me someone was coming to see the property, I took the dogs, locked the door, and went outside. The realtor told me to be out for about 30 minutes. After that period of time, I went back upstairs. The door was as locked. I entered, and I did It did look as if people had been there. Doors were moved, and the laundry room doors were wide open. I had closed them, as they were barn doors. I then got a text from the realtor asking why I didn't put the key in the lockbox at the main floor outside. The people couldn't get in with their realtor. I'd be honest, it was a very bad place after he died, and particularly after what I found, thinking in detail that I was not something I was doing. I went to the main washroom and saw that the bath mat was sitting over the tub, not the way I left it. I touched it and felt water, almost like someone had gotten out of the shower and been standing on it. It's a fairly big apartment, 2 bedrooms and an office. When the dogs and I were in bed at night, I could hear noises in the kitchen after he died at night. I was too afraid to get out of bed. It was a concrete building, and we couldn't hear anything people were doing in apartments near us, so hearing something was very unusual. I moved in June of 2021 to a new condo. The first night I was there alone, the dogs were being taken care of. I was laying in bed, not asleep, laying on the side of the edge. I felt someone brush up against me. My hair actually moved. It scared the hell out of me. I lay there for a few minutes, afraid to move. Finally, I moved again, and recently far from where I had been living. Last Christmas, I was in bed. My bedroom door was open, and I clearly heard 3 knocks on the door. It happened twice. This also really scared me. I had never been one to think of spirits world until recently. Last Christmas, I made statements out loud and told him to leave me alone. So far, it's all been good. The last 4 years have been a real ride. Well, I guess he's either watching out for you, or he's haunting you. That would be my thought. Yeah. Anyway, interesting. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you later. Bye. And welcome back to another video. This is more ghost story paranormal stuff. Anyway, thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.